a quick and dirty analysis on Boeing for next week. Now, I've been looking at this ticker, and I'm actually in a calls position here for next week. But I wanted to quickly cover how I will review this technical analysis. I basically cleaned up the chart, and all I've left is this downtrend that has been, that had been going on ever since 2020, and as you can clearly see, all the way from actually 2019, it started, coming down, and then in 2020 it just really tanked, with the pandemic, and then in 2021 it kept on going because of, economies were still closed, countries were still closed down. So here's the big downtrend line. That's all I have. That's pretty much, undisputable. I mean, anybody could see that. Now, as you can see, I have also marked this very long-term support spanning back 2-3 years almost, which has about a triple bottom if you count this one. But what I like most about this is this W pattern here, which is very indicative of a recovery pattern, a double bottom, because this is a triple bottom, but that's like very far away from where we are right now. But recently it does have this double bottom, okay, from 2022 until now. And it basically broke past this neckline, if you will, here of the W, and it has since run up. And you can clearly see it reached resistance right about here, which is exactly where that purple line here is. That's the line of control, the point of control line, sorry, from the volume profile indicator, which is this indicator to the right here. Okay, so what do I want to do is I want to review after identifying the very obvious support down here and trend / resistance line here, which it has clearly broken above. I actually want to go over this Fibonacci tool. So this is the Fibonacci retracement, and one of the more common questions that I get is, do you draw this from top to bottom or from bottom to the top? Well, that depends. What are you trying to identify? In this case, we're trying to identify a retracement, okay? And what we're doing here is we're going to pick, and I'm going to go from 2021 over to 2022 or 2023. I'm not going to cover, although I could. I don't want to go as far back as 2019. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here real quick. And basically I'm going to pick the highest and the lowest point during that window. I think nobody will argue that this is the highest point. Okay, and I've started my tool here, and I would move down towards the lowest point, which would be actually right there. Okay, now it doesn't matter if you stretch this out to the right, it's still considering that as the low point. You can just extend these numbers out, as you can see, so that you have a clear view of what those levels are. And there I went a little bit too far down. There. Okay, so now think about this. This makes sense because what I'm trying to identify is how far this down move has retraced. Okay, so I'm going to click here, all right, and close this tool. And this makes sense because this has been dropping, down, 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 and then it hits this, support, and it bounces. So it's a retracement of the downtrend. So what we're talking about here when we go from top to bottom is how much has this downtrend retraced. Okay, the downtrend started or supposedly hit bottom here. If it reaches this point, it has retraced 23%. Okay, if it reaches this point, it has retraced 38%. If it reaches this place or this level, it has retraced 50%. And the very highly liked 61.8 or 61.8 level is, as we all know, one of the preferred levels, and 61.8 is exactly where it's at right now, where it seems to have hit some resistance, all right, and it's bouncing around there. It actually broke under this point of control line, and as you can see, actually I don't know if you can see, but I'm going to go ahead and draw a quick support line here. This is pretty much where it stagnated today, and you could identify this as that level. Okay, so that's going to be actually I don't want that to be a dashed line, so let me go ahead and set that as a solid line, okay, and that is my only other support other than this bottom down here. Okay, so that's where it seems to be bouncing around. It's quite an important level of support, and it is sandwiched between this 61.8 retracement. Okay, that is if we are calculating Fibonacci going down and then retracing back up. All right, it's a little bit different when you're doing it the other way around. So now let's look at this as the starting point, and it's going up, and we want to see what the levels are for it retracing down. So let me zoom in to this level here, and let me just, before I do that real quick, let me just add a very obvious new trend line forming. And the reason why I'm going to draw this is because we can clearly see that Boeing is bouncing. Okay, why? A couple of reasons. Number one, it broke above both of those downtrend lines that we have up here. This one has two touches here, and the third one is way back in 2019. And this, a more solid one, okay, has 1, 2, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, quite a few touches on this bottom one. So it definitely broke out and cleared this bottom line, okay, this trend line. So that means, in my book, that this trend has been broken. Which trend? The 2 pixel line trend. Okay, that downtrend has been broken because it was a very strong resistance, if you will. It broke above, and it has spent quite a bit of time above that trend line. It has not even come back down to retest it. It's basically broken through the 23 retracement, the 38 retracement, the 50 retracement, which is quite important, and it's kind of, you know, hanging around this 61.8. So we can say now that this line, if we zoom in on this, is a new trend line. Why? Well, because we could very easily just count the touches here and see what we got. All right, there we go. So we're gonna have to zoom in on this a little bit more. I want to keep this video under 10 minutes. That'll be a first for me. Okay, and there we go. So we can see, let me move this a little bit more there. Okay, so we've got the original, let me adjust this, the original touch down here, and we have quite a few touches there, and then we have maybe another touch, not as cleanly right there, and then that's where it's touching right now, and that is what we would obviously call a very important point of confluence. Okay, so what is going on at this point of confluence? Let me bring this into focus or into view a little bit better. You know, we could probably fix this line in such a way that it touches the candle. Okay, it's the wick, but that's fine. All right, so we have confluence here. We have this line, which we just marked as a very important support level. Okay, and we can see that it is bouncing off around that line, and it has been sandwiched in between this 618 and that support level. Okay, so let's go ahead and use the fib retracement in the other direction. Okay, so this time we want to know, okay, we want to get in on this, right? But actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and look at a pattern. Just a regular, you know, 1-5 Elliott wave. Okay, so let me see if I use the same starting point. All right, and I'm going to try to find my Elliott waves here. If this is the first one, okay, and it matches up with that 38.2, that's the 0. All right, there's the retracement back to the 2. That's not going to work out quite as well as I thought. There's the third one, which would have to be longer than the first one, and it doesn't look it. And then this would be our fourth one, okay, which would be our retracement. And then we'll just let this hang here now as point number 5 at that 78.6. I could fix this, okay, I could fix this by adding this support, which is very clear in my opinion, right there. Okay, I could add that support, and I could bring this starting point. I would rather add it here. All right, I would rather add it here. So I'm going to bring that support down like so. Still matches up pretty nicely. Okay, so there we go. Yep. All right, so there's the beginning of what could be that Elliott wave drive, right? Don't particularly like this number 2, but it'll have to do for now. The point is, what I want to get through here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get rid of it because I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. All right. The point is, we want to know, okay, has this retracement, this corrective wave, because if you remember from the Elliott wave theory, it's basically an impulsive wave, and then a corrective wave, and then the large impulsive wave, and then the corrective wave, and then one last impulsive wave. All right, and we want to know, what we want to know is we want to get in on at the end of these corrective waves, right? So we don't want to get in somewhere in the middle here or in the middle here because it has more correcting to do. That means that we will have a better risk to reward if we catch it at the bottom than if we catch it somewhere in the middle. So what we want to do is get in before this last wave gets in, right? So we want to know how much has this retraced. Well, first of all, we know that it has retraced to a point that is significant in terms of a previous support, which is there, okay, at 205-ish, 205.95. And now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and use the Fibonacci. Oh, I didn't grab that. Use the Fibonacci to see how much it retraced. But we're doing it backwards now because we want to see if it went up, how much has it retraced. So if we start all the way from down here, okay, and now this is the highest point. And I'm going to blow past these levels just so that I can move those numbers a little bit further to the right. Okay, what we want to match up is that 0 line up at the top. Okay, and there it is. Okay, so now the 0 is at the top. Okay, and again, it makes sense because it has run up. This is one large move up, right? Which is what that yellow trend line here is denoting. It's made. How far back has it retraced? And as we can see here, this is our 0. It has not retraced all the way, not even to the 23.6 line. So it hasn't yet retraced 23.6%. Okay, which would be another, which would be the first place where I would get into this trade. But because I'm liking the confluence with the trend line and I'm liking that support, it would have been great if it would have lined up, but it didn't. That's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and probably take this trade on. I'm already in it. Like I said, let's zoom in here a little bit more. Remember, this is the daily. All right. So I'm going to have to zoom in a little bit more. So what we could do is, if I was not already in this trade, then I would start right now because it is at a point where I believe could be a good starting point for the beginning of this next wave, right? But I would leave an add open position, add to open position in case it does reach this 23.6, which also coincides quite nicely with the 50% downward retracement that we had been talking about from the 2021 all the way to 2023. Okay, so that would be another confluence level, which I could actually mark. Okay, so this would be one place to get in. Okay, that was not very good. Let me go ahead and do a circle. Geometric shape. All right. Okay, so this could be the first place to get in, and this would definitely be another place to get in, right? Oh, I didn't grab that. It's not locked. Okay, this would be another place to get in sometime this week before Boeing actually keeps, moving north. All right, so that was what I wanted to cover. It's a little bit of Fibonacci, a little bit of Elliott wave, and some quick and dirty support and resistance, as well as trend lines to look at a play that I'm looking at for next week. All right, so I hope you guys have found this educational and informative, and if you did or didn't, go ahead and drop me a line in the comments below. See you next time.